Hi everybody, it's Meg from Books Off the Beaten Path, and we are going to do an early morning book review. And it seems like forever since I've done a proper one, but we're going to do a proper one this morning, and it's going to be good. There's going to be a few spoilers. You'll never find this book, so just don't worry about it. It's a no worry Monday, so just don't worry about it. Okay, the book we will be reviewing this morning is Doors to Death by Lee Crosby. Okay, now this is our heroine, Dorcas. Her name is Dorcas. Now, for all of you out there named Dorcas, it's a lovely name, it's a biblical name, but our Dorcas was really a dork. And so I had high hopes for this one going in. Let me get you the copyright date. 1965. So here's the setup. You've got this Crane family, C-R-A-N-E, and they've all been called to the ancestral home, Crane Mansion, by Wendell Crane, who is the head of this factory, and he wants to talk to them about changing things around at the factory, like who is going to control what when he dies and different things like that, and they're trapped in there because of a hurricane. They can't get out. So very much gave me the feels of, and then there were none, and the island. Who wrote the island? Oh, I'm going out of screen here. Going out of frame, I'll sit up. Anyway, so they're all on this island, and there's a hurricane, and they can't get out. And the very first thing that happens is they go to the wardrobe, like C.S. Lewis would. They would go to the wardrobe, and out falls a dead body, and it's one of the cousins, and they're like, oh my God. And so, of course, they're all just suspecting each other, and as well they should, because it has to be somebody inside the house. And we have two servants that they keep waking up, which I think is very telling of the time. These two servants, and their names are Jonah and Easter. It's so racist. I mean, I guess it's probably not as racist as it could be, but it's like they named them. And so it's Jonas and Easter, and Jonas and Easter, they're smart. They don't want to have anything to do with it, so they go to bed. But every now and then, they will go down and wake them up in order to either make them coffee or stand outside a room and make sure that nobody comes in or out. Now, if I were Jonah and Easter, I'd be like, am I being paid for this? This is overtime? How does this work? They get you when you're salaried. They own you. Okay. Anyway, so back to the story. So the dead body falls out of the wardrobe. They all start suspecting each other. And then they all start, But Dorcas is feeling very vulnerable because her mother told her, when they got the invitation, she said, I just can't go back. This is her mother. I just can't go back to the mansion because I saw something really horrible there. Something really horrible there happened. And I saw it, and I can't go back to the mansion. So you have to go for me. You have to go represent our side of the family. So Dorcas dutifully goes, but that's all she knows. Is that, Mom had a bad experience at the mansion. We don't think too much of it and everything. Well, the next thing that happens is this creepy doll shows up. And it's a doll, and it's dressed exactly like one of the other cousins. And the cousins are like Joe, Jimmy, Sebastian, Francis. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference other than and Ellie, other than they're male or female, because they're so one-dimensional. I mean, they have no real personalities. We also have Eric, who is the factory foreman, who has been called in. He's like Wendell Crane's right-hand man. Now, where's Wendell, you might ask? Where's Wendell? Wendell is up in his room. He's locked himself up in his room, and he doesn't want to come down. What a charming host. What a charming host. Come to my house in the middle of the hurricane. There'll be a dead body for you to find, and then I'll get scared and get locked into my room. So that's what he does. And that's one of the reasons they wake Jonas up, to make sure that he stays protected, because God forbid anything happens to Wendell. Anyway, so there's a lot of moving around in the dark. There's a lot of, they call it the doors to death because these doors, they have these long hallways with lots of doors. And of course the electricity has gone out because of the hurricane. And Dorcas keeps going in these doors and going out of the doors. Now here's my problem with Dorcas. Dorcas and Eric, the foreman, have really got a thing going. You know, they've got some chemistry, and they've got a little bit of chemistry going on, and I think that was done pretty well, a little bit of chemistry there. And so Eric will tell Dorcas to stay somewhere. And Dorcas will be like, I'll stay right here until you get back. And then he leaves, and in 30 seconds, she's like, well, I better go down the hall now, or I better go look for Eric. He's not back yet. She makes the stupidest decisions. I mean, but if she didn't make the dumb decisions, the story wouldn't advance. And so I have to say to Lee Crosby, Lee, I'm not a fan of your writing style, because you can have heroines in these Gothics that make good decisions and the story can still advance. But the story would not have advanced at all because there was really no plot unless Dorcas became a dork and started doing dorky things. Okay, so anyway, back to the doll. I mentioned the doll. So this doll shows up and it's dressed up like Sylvester or Sebastian, one of the cousins. And he gets real nervous when he sees the doll because the doll just suddenly appears in the room and is dressed just like him and everything like that. And he gets suddenly nervous, and so he starts smoking wildly and everything like that. And the next thing we know, he's dead. He has died. And they're like, what could have happened to him? What could have happened to him? Well, I'm reading it going, he was poisoned by the cigarette, you idiots. But whatever. They didn't think that. I thought that. Turned out to be right, but they didn't think that. Anyway, so the story moves along. Another creepy doll shows up, which is dressed exactly like Dorcas. Now, how our murderer knew that what Dorcas was going to be wearing, I have no idea. Unless Dorcas has a very limited wardrobe, I don't know. It goes on. Eric is attacked outside, but of course he doesn't see who attacks him. Dorcas is attacked inside, but of course she doesn't see who attacks her. And so then Eric finally draws them all into the drawing room and he says, I know who the murderer is, and it is because the murderer is insane, which is a total cop-out in my opinion. Total cop-out. So here's what happened. Now see if you can follow this. All right, so Wendell Crane, who called them all there and then got stuck up in his room, he had a brother by the name of Curtis Crane. And Curtis was insane. He was completely and totally wacky. And when Dorcas's mother went to visit at the mansion at one point in her lifetime, it doesn't say if she was a child or an adult or anything like that, Curtis slit his own throat at the dining room table in front of everybody, including Dorcas's mother. And Dorcas's mother was so shocked by that, I guess, that she never mentioned it to anyone. And you would think that would go down in some sort of family record. You would think she would tell that story at some point, because the police would have had to investigate or anything like that. So anyway, Cornelius at the dining room table in front of Dorcas's mother. That's why Dorcas doesn't want to go back, but she sends her daughter willingly into this haven of homicidal insanity. So he kills himself, but he's had a son, and the son is one of the cousins, Jimmy. And Jimmy has decided that he's going to off all of the other cousins because he wants to run the factory. And Wendell, locked up in his room, Wendell, knows this. And he's so devastated after the first body is found, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't think to call out Jimmy, who is our murderer, because he's just so upset about the whole thing that Jimmy would take it so far and that he's so upset. What? And then the dolls never explained why Jimmy is making dolls, why he's leaving dolls out, never explained. And then the way Jimmy kills himself, because he indeed kills himself at the end, is he takes a cigarette from the package that he poisoned for Sebastian, and he smokes that cigarette and dies. And in the end, Eric proposes to Dorcas. Yeah, that's it. That's the story of Doors to Death. It got a 2 because I like the setting. I thought the setting was described well, the creepy old house and the hurricane and everything like that. But everything else about it sucked. So don't read it. Don't spend your hard-earned pennies on that one. Doors to Death is doors to dorkiness. Doors to dismal, criminally insane, silly people. And like the dolls. Why are the dolls? Why are we having these dolls out here like, I'm going to make a very intricate doll that then sew the dress and sew the Sebastian clothes and everything like that and make it look exactly like my next victim and everything like that and leave it out? Why? Well, I guess, the whole thing was, well, because he's insane. Because he's insane. And so therefore he has no reason for doing anything other than he's insane. Lame, lame, lame. The insane excuse is just lame. Anyway, that is my early morning book review of Doors to Death by Lee Crosby. Don't read it. Just don't. Anyway, I'm going to put my pitch at the end. I've got my new indie book coming supposedly today. I'll be reading that and reviewing. If you're an indie author, if you know an indie author who wants a book review, I will do it for free. I will do it for free, and we'll do it on my channel. And I'm so excited to have some new subscribers. I'm excited to see everybody out there. I've laid on tags. I need to do some tags, so I'll be doing those. And remember, if you're at a dinner table and somebody slits their own throat in front of you, you might want to bring that up to your children before you send them to the house where that happened. I'm just saying it's a tip. It's a parental tip. Anyway, I hope everybody has a great Monday, and I will check you later.